Look, we need to talk. We are in uncharted territory with Nintendo Switch. The first time we've been in this position since the generation began. And honestly, it freaks me out. Okay? It freaks me out. And I gotta express the concern, the worry, and why you should be worried too. Okay? So good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. I'm worked up, so it's water instead of tea. Nintendo announced a bunch of stuff at the Direct. It's in the past now. It feels good to get Game Boy Advance, Metroid Prime Remastered. We've dated Pikmin 4. Zelda ain't getting delayed. And we feel good about the next few months. In fact, Nintendo's right here, right now, feels par for the course. It feels pretty darn good. Pokemon Day is coming up. They're about to add even more to the slate. And we do have notable releases over the next couple of months. And that is when I get really scared. The future is blank. And that has never been the case since the start of this channel. It feels very weird. It feels very freaky. And I do not know what's going to happen next. And we just got to hold on tight, cross our fingers, and put our trust in Nintendo. Nintendo has done a phenomenal job of keeping their plans very transparent throughout this generation. They threw out the Smash Bros. Trailer early. They threw out the Animal Crossing announcement early. They gave us Splatoon 3 at a February Direct way before it was ready. They really said, hey, we want you to know our plans. Zelda 3 years ago at E3. But right now, we do not know their plans. The future is murky for the first time in the Switch generation, and that's worrisome. It's worrisome because it means Nintendo is probably going into a mode that I hate to see. A mode which is the, hey, let's wait for the next generation mode. A mode that is, hey, we're doing so well and we have so many heavy hitters, why burn more titles? Look, the pie in the sky, hopeful kid in me wants to believe that a Switch Pro is coming. I will hold on to that hope for as long as possible, but the logic part of my brain, the zeros and ones, says there's no Switch Pro coming in 2023. The logic part of my brain says this is Nintendo going to sleep. This is Nintendo showing off 122 million units, 20 million Pokemons, and a massive Zelda right smack dab in the middle of the summer, and then they hibernate. It really is weird that all we have is Metroid Prime 4 TBD. Nintendo loves to have TBD, right? How many times have we talked about on the investors call, Bayonetta 3 someday, Metroid Prime someday, Pikmin will come back someday. Nothing beyond that. We now know July 21st is Pikmin 4, and after that, we have no clue what Nintendo's putting out. All of their games at the Direct were dated. Advance Wars is re-emerging in April, Kirby is coming out in March. These things are approaching very quickly. And then what? It's really weird to not know, and the not knowing, I can basically answer it for you. It's because there isn't much there. Nintendo is going to pad out this year with a few other games. That's a guarantee. It doesn't stop in July. They will have a September game, an October game, I bet you. And they might even have something really fun. I keep my fingers crossed for Donkey Kong, but this is the beginning of the end of the glory days of Switch. And there's something to mourn about that. We've had it so good for so long. Has it been perfect? No. But this has been the most fun Nintendo generation since the Super Nintendo for me. And I was yay high and loving it back then. Don't you agree? It's been great. We've got awesome titles. Every year is exciting. The hype and the hope is always at an all-time high because Nintendo, for the most part, if we're honest, they've delivered. And I want to believe that they'll deliver again, but everything is stacking against that belief. They dropped out of E3, and IGN and VGC say it's because they don't really have any E3-worthy games. They had their February Direct, and they didn't show anything beyond July, not even a tease. Their one more thing was a Zelda trailer that, cool, but it didn't even give a ton because there's probably a Zelda Direct to actually really dig into that game. This was a chance for them to show off what's coming in the future. They didn't do it. They didn't even tease Metroid Prime 4. Now, I think Metroid Prime 4 is closer than before because Metroid Prime Remastered is finally out there. It's freaking glorious. It's so good. I cannot believe that they stopped making Metroid Primes. I cannot believe the last one was Wii. These games are so good. The idea is so good. It feels like an FPS Zelda. I don't know why they dropped the ball on that. Morph it back up. Cannot wait for Prime 4. But for all we know, Metroid Prime 4 is a Switch 2 game. And more I begin to think that Nintendo Switch will not have a Pro model, but instead will have a direct follow-up. Yeah, in the same way that Breath of the Wild 2 isn't getting a 2, Nintendo Switch ain't getting a Pro, or at least that's how it feels. It'll go to the next thing, Tears of the Switch. It's good because we're not forced into buying a mid-cycle upgrade, but it's bad because the next year or two could be difficult. Now, I'm not gonna lie, as somebody that covers Nintendo for a living, this is spooky. This is really scary. When Nintendo goes into shutdown mode, I better go into hyperactive creative mode, because what do we got beyond Zelda? I mean, there still could be some fun stuff, and the Pokemon engine never stops chewing, but unless they come out with a system in March of 2024, it's going to be a long 18 months. A lot of people are predicting that they will launch something holiday 2024, like Xbox and PlayStation usually do, instead of the odd Switch launch in March, which was kind of unique, right? Some people say it was delayed out of the holiday season. Nintendo was in a strange spot. They were coming off of a disastrous Wii U era. They're not coming off of that now. And if they release a special edition here, a special edition there, a remake here, a port there, DLC here, DLC there, they could conceivably save Metroid Prime 4, Mario Odyssey 2, and everything else that they're currently working on for the next system. The Switch glory days are over. Let that sink in for a minute. Let's not kid ourselves. Nintendo is not hiding 5 high-profile games from us. They're just sunsetting the Switch. And they're sunsetting it in a pool of money, so they don't really need to push themselves too hard. They can put all that R&D, all that marketing, all of that money into prepping for the next system to try and make it just as huge or huger than the current Switch is. And that's great for us down the road, but the next year or so is going to be weird. Because at least May has Zelda. We've been waiting for Tears of the Kingdom forever, it feels like. What after that? What sort of is the carrot on the stick that keeps us going, keeps us hopeful, keeps us enthused? The directs seem to be dramatically slowing down. They're still having them. They still pack in with 40 minutes, but if you've noticed, they're putting more and more games in that previously would not have spots at directs. They're relying far more on third parties, a lot more on their Eastern partners, and much more on titles that are not as mainstream appealing. The Nintendo segments felt few and far between, and as I mentioned in my reaction review, if those games and systems had not come out that day, that direct would have been a disaster. They saved it and completely reversed course on the conversation by smartly stealth dropping so much good stuff. Anticipated stuff. But what are we anticipating now? What does a year look like where we have no Zelda, we have no Smash Brothers, we have no Splatoon, we have no Mario Kart, we have no Mario? What do we anticipate? Will Nintendo just shovelware their way into holiday 2024 and then launch Mario Odyssey 2 and Metroid Prime 4 with the system? Because right now, if I had to bet, that's where it would go. I would love to be wrong. I love being right, but in this moment, I would love to be wrong, and I'd like the kid in me to be correct. There's a Switch Pro. Zelda always double platforms it up. GameCube to Wii, Wii to Wii U, Wii U to Switch. They always do it. Do it again, Nintendo. Do it again. They're in a different boat. They're in a yacht. And when you're in a yacht, you don't have to rush. May is a strange time to launch a system, and so it's not going to happen. They're most likely going to just coast. $70 game here, $70 game there. They'll make their money. Zelda will be a big seller. Pokemon will poop out something. Probably reveal it at Pokemon Day. Hopefully throw up Pokemon Pinball on Game Boy Advance, Switch Online. And there will still be fun to be had. Look, don't get too doom and gloom. We're going to have a good time. But it's just going to be a slow grind. And we haven't had a slow grind on Switch. Even the slow years aren't like what we're going to face. It's also just weird that even with it being slow, and even with us knowing, Nintendo doesn't say anything. Like, wouldn't it have been the perfect moment to say, hey, DK is coming, hey, F-Zero is returning, hey, we do have a 2D Mario, even Sluggers? There's a chance some stuff pops up via Twitter. Probably will. No June game as of yet. But it's very weird that they didn't want their investors to know the next big project. Even if they didn't date it, even if they didn't system it, just tease something truly awesome. Throw out a Mario Odyssey 2 trailer and say, in development. Nintendo does all sorts of wild stuff. They apologize for restarting. They apologize for delays. They could apologize for a game being too far off to give a system for. That would imply they're already working on the next system, but we know they are. It's very strange, and I'd have to go back into history to find when's a time Nintendo has had nothing on their upcoming slate. Metroid Prime 4 has been on the upcoming slate since practically the Switch came out. I don't even know if you count that anymore. I think people just their eyes glaze over that. It's been on that TBD list so long that now it's blank. It's Pikmin 4 on July 21st and then nothing. The Switch is done? No, but in another way, the Switch is done. There's a lot to think about there. There's a lot of emotions. It's been an era for me, unlike any other. We still will have great games coming out. We still will have fun. We still will have Zelda and Pikmin and probably a Donkey Kong and who knows, maybe even a Mario or two. I don't think Odyssey 2. There still will be games and third parties and indies. I mean, Hollow Knight, somewhere out there. The future is blank. And that has never been the case since the start of this channel. It feels very weird. It feels very freaky. And I do not know what's going to happen next. And we just got to hold on tight, cross our fingers, and put our trust in Nintendo. They've gotten us this far. I hope they can keep it going. We don't want a scenario where the Switch dies a slow, painful death and we enter the new system on a low rather than a high. We got to continue the momentum. And I hope Nintendo knows that. I hope they know it's strangely disastrous to just try and say, oh, we achieved all we wanted to achieve. Let's just coast on the fact that our bank accounts are swole. They got to put the work in, and I do not want to see Nintendo go complacent. That's bad Nintendo. That's bad business. It's bad for morale, and it's bad for your next launch. You really want to be riding high into your next thing, not careening off the cliff, and then you get saved at the last second by a guardian angel known as a new $400 system. Really not how it's supposed to go. Nintendo, don't screw this up. You've gone 6 years of awesome sales, incredible records, phenomenal gameplay experiences. Don't blow it now. Do you guys agree? Is it freaky to have no future in terms of games for Switch? Why are they not telling us? Do you have a crazy theory, or do you think it's right that there's probably no new system coming for a while and this is just going to be the glory days are over? That's basically what it's going to be. All right, let me know your take in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.